Under the current situation, China's traditional and non-traditional security threats are intertwined, and all strategic directions and security areas are facing diversified real and potential threats of local wars, which requires that China must abandon the old modes of planar line warfare, traditional ground warfare and homeland defense warfare, and accelerate the transformation to joint and all-area warfare under the thinking of seeking to win high-intensity local wars, as the system with the most growth potential in the naval combat capability. The amphibious assault force has a more supreme status, and the naval amphibious force is bound to have a strong demand for heavy shipborne attack helicopters if it is to work solidly in the direction of war is sure to win. From the perspective of realism, the problem is at present somewhat complex. If a large amount of resources are used to develop a purely for the transition of the straight 10 derivative model on board, equipped with a small number of equipment time is also particularly short. It makes little sense, but also prone to waste of resources. As for the introduction of Ka-52K from Russia is likely to be only an unreliable rumor. The current public 075 amphibious assault ship demonstration began in 2011. The design began in 2015 or so. The Ka-52K project really began to advance in depth, but the Russian army, in order to support the French imported Northwest Wind class amphibious assault ship, in other words, the Ka-52K program had not yet been fully formed when the Chinese Navy began to demonstrate the 075 amphibious assault ship. In this case, the introduction of the Russian Ka-52K for the Type 075 is extremely illogical. Type 075 amphibious assault ship, if you want to adapt Ka-52K, then as early as in the research and development or even the project demonstration stage should be arranged. It is unlikely that several amphibious assault ships have been built and launched, or even delivered, but suddenly found that there is a lack of attack helicopters, so that the introduction of the Ka-52K emergency this kind of thing. Moreover, since the Russian-Ukrainian conflict broke out, in order to replenish the serious battle losses, Ka-52 production line capacity resources have become highly strained. The possibility of the Chinese Navy to introduce the Ka-52K is also further reduced. But the backward-looking Chinese aviation industry brings another possibility. To put it bluntly, this refers to the maiden flight of a prototype of China's new generation heavy attack helicopter, dubbed the Z-21 by foreign media. The most obvious feature of the Z-21, as seen in the photos that have surfaced on social media, is the quadrangular, cheek, fairing that extends from the nose to the tail boom, like a similar design used on the AH-64D. The overall shape of the Z-21 contrasts with the slender fuselage of the Chinese military's in-service D-10. The tail section shows that the Z-21 has some blood to the Z-20, as the overall design of the two is almost identical. The short wings follow the design of similar models, and appear to have been fitted with hangars, possibly carrying test flight equipment. The nose is also fitted with an air data detector, which is a common feature of test flights of new models. So far, no cannon appears to have been fitted, which may be added in the future. If the Z-21 has been fitted with a self-defense kit, there must be antennas and projections around the fuselage associated with this. In addition, the engine exhaust ports face upwards, which is usually a measure taken to reduce the infrared signature when tracked by ground-based air defense systems. The aircraft is primarily a heavy attack helicopter developed derivatively using the technical achievements of the Z-20. In terms of takeoff weight, weapon carrying capacity, and the completeness of the onboard equipment, the Z-21 should be basically on a par with the AH-64E and Mi-28NM in terms of major performance. In fact, in the history of the development of heavy attack helicopters, derivation based on the power and rotor systems of utility helicopters has been one of the logical choices. This is the case of Sikorsky's development of a heavy armed helicopter, based on the Black Hawk utility helicopter. Sikorsky's proposal for the S-71 heavy armed helicopter has not only the power and rotor system of the S-70 Black Hawk utility helicopter, but also the drogue, flat tail, tail beam, and tailwheel components have been copied. In addition, the main design features of the S-70 are also present on the S-71, with the same low-mounted main rotor, fixed swept-back flat tail and wide-chord drogue. The commonality of components between the two is 81.7%. Of course, the S-71's forward fuselage has been redesigned to feature a tandem two-seat cockpit, a belly gun turret, main landing gear struts wrapped in fairings, a sensor pod under the nose, and a pair of weapons-mounted stubs flanking the center of the fuselage. Sharing the same lift and powertrain as the S-70, the S-71 would have had a significant development and manufacturing cost advantage in the advanced attack helicopter competition, and would have been a great benefit to the U.S. Army in terms of savings in operating and maintenance costs. Unfortunately, Sikorsky's plans were ultimately defeated, but the S-71 lost the OH competition not because of performance, but because of complex political factors. Sikorsky had a clear competitive advantage in the USTAS program, and if it took the OH, the winner-takes-all result would be a one-trick pony, which would not be conducive to the development of the U.S. helicopter industry. After weighing and considering, the U.S. Army gave the OH project to Bell and Hughes, and after further competition, Hughes' proposal came out on top, resulting in today's famous A-64 Apache. In this dusty history, the S-71 played a losing role, able to compete with the Apache, which in itself proves the capability and success of the Black Hawk-derived heavy attack helicopter. The example of the Black Hawk's development of the S-71 is very illustrative. The Z-20's layout and performance can be compared to the Black Hawk, and the Z-20 series already has a multi-purpose version for naval use, so it would be logical to further develop a heavy naval attack helicopter. The Z-20 series already has a multi-purpose version for naval use, and it would be logical to develop a heavy attack helicopter for naval use. There are unsubstantiated claims that the Z-21 could be rapidly finalized for production within 2 to 3 years, as the extensive use of existing Z-20 components would help to accelerate the heavy attack helicopter development program and reduce development risks. The Z-21 offers a very realistic option for meeting the PLA's need for a heavy attack helicopter. However, the emergence and technological maturity of the naval version of the Z-21 may lag behind what is thought to be possible. This is because the naval version of the Z-21 will require extensive re-engineering, unlike the environment in which the land-based model will be used. In the course of its mission, the naval helicopter is exposed to high temperature, high humidity and high salt for a long time, which has a huge impact on its maintenance and security. For example, the subtropical sea area is always in high temperature, high humidity, high salt spray state. The ship's flight deck temperature up to 70 degrees Celsius. The temperature in the hangar is also often above 30 degrees Celsius. The relative humidity is generally more than 80%. Corrosion damage caused by harsh environments directly affects the safety and reliability of helicopters. This requires that the requirements for corrosion protection should be fully considered and rationally designed when the equipment is being designed. This alone determines that the development of the Z-21 shipboard derivatives is by no means an easy task, and there is more to it than that. For example, in order to adapt to the needs of regular shipboard deployment, the naval version of the Z-21 needs to adopt a completely new design of the rotor mast, so that the rotor blades can be manually folded to adapt to the height of the ship's hangar. Maritime operations also require the introduction of a completely new radar system, weapon system, pilot life support system, air conditioning units, emergency flotation system, and a new type of navigational equipment, and even a search and rescue mission for the KSU rescue system. However, the integration of these new designs and equipment is not simple. In the case of the KA-52K, for example, at the beginning of the design, the KA-52K's stub wings were planned to be folded upwards, but it was then discovered that this solution would interfere with the engine fairings, making it impossible for mechanics to carry out engine inspections and maintenance while the stub wings were folded. In response, the designers developed an entirely new wing folding solution, whereby the outer section of the stub wing was rotated back around a hinge mounted on the trailing edge and folded horizontally on either side of the fuselage. This novel folding does not affect either flight performance or bomb load. Although the KA-52K has only 4 weapons mounts, fewer than the 6 of the shore-based version, the short inboard wing mounts have been strengthened to increase the maximum mounting capacity to 1,000 kilograms. This allows the KA-52K to mount 2 Kh-35 anti-ship missiles, enhancing its maritime combat capability. To guide such missiles, the KA-52K needs to integrate a new maritime search radar for long-range surface target detection and missile guidance. The Steady Phase Accelerator Research and Production Consortium, SPARC, has developed a new dual-band radar for the KA-52K based on the FH-01. The radar has an additional centimeter wave channel, operates in the X-band, transmits at a wavelength of 3 cm and is capable of being used for sea surface search. It is capable of detecting large ships at distances of 150 to 180 km, providing precise, targeting information for the Ka-52K. However, the process of integrating this dual-band radar with the Kh-35 anti-ship missile did not go smoothly, and until now, the Ka-52K does not have a full anti-ship operational capability. This shows that despite the first flight of the so-called Z-21 prototype, the Chinese Navy may still need a longer period of time to sharpen its skills if it wants to acquire a heavy attack helicopter